My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
Need a holiday gift that will keep her sparkling all year long? Blue Nile, the original online jeweler, has experts on hand 24/7 who can help you find the perfect piece. Beyond that, Blue Nile makes the gifting experience easier than ever with guaranteed free shipping and returns, as well as a wide assortment of jewelry of the highest quality at the best price. Right now, get 30% off jewelry at BlueNile.com. That's BlueNile.com for 30% off. BlueNile.com.
Hello, you are listening to Just Films and That. This is the podcast where we talk about those films we think deserve a little bit more love. Whether they're underrated or underseen, we're going to talk about them. So, let's see what it's going to be this week. Hello, yes, welcome to another episode of Just Films and That. Thank you very much for tuning in. I'm the host, Josh Hallam, and I'm joined, as ever, by my wonderful co-host, Jamie Allen. Jamie, how you doing, mate?
I'm fantastic, mate.
Excited to talk about a film?
Just a film in general. Yeah, I'm excited.
What film?
I'm excited. You could probably hear it in my voice last week when you said we're going to talk about an underrated Marvel film. I was like, finally, the Eternals is getting the love it deserves. And
finally, Iron Man 2 is not...
We're doing the Marvels.
We are, mate. We are. Otherwise known as Marvel 2 Woke. Yeah.
There's a woman director. Oh my god!
Yeah, I know, it's bang out of order, really. Anyway, yes, I've chosen this one this week, so we're going to be talking about the Marvels for 2023 because it's about a year since it came out, more or less, and I reviewed it when it came out, and well, I suppose, why do you think I've picked it? Is the question, I guess. That's what I want to know.
I guess clutching at straws now, aren't you? I think because this is quite a fun romp, and it's fell into that kind of lazily. People say, "Oh, after Endgame, Marvel is just putting out rubbish," but then when you look into it, there's some solid stuff there.
There is,
and also of the bad stuff, this is the one that has apparently bombed the worst, which. It's mad that I think, like, Love and Thunder is a terrible film for me. I think
it's much worse than this.
And I think obviously you have you have that element of people going, well, it's woke now, isn't it? That's why it didn't do well. And you're like, no, it was an established character that you've had long enough for you to say we're not forcing this down your throat. She's been around for 5 years now.
Yeah. So I mean, So I've picked it. It was a bit of a box office bomb, but I've mainly picked it because it's underrated. I'm not sure you could say many Marvel films are underseen, but I've mainly picked it because it's underrated. So yeah, it's been about a year since this came out. I really enjoyed it when it came out, and I thought it took a bit of a hammering, which was unfair. As I said when I picked it last week, when we first started this podcast, I did make a point of saying we're all about the underrated, underseen films, which obviously is a bit of a movable goalpost, really, because you can I remember, like, when we picked films that were quite big successes, but we've said things like, well, people aren't going back and watching them and things like that. Or we've said, like when we picked True Lies, for example, we got a bit of stick for picking that because people said it wasn't underrated or underseen. But yet when we picked it, we couldn't find it anywhere. So you can always, the point is, it's all about the argument with this podcast. And I was very much, when it first started, I'm not doing any Marvel films because they're never underrated, they're never underseen. They make £1 billion each time, and they're usually fairly well received, if not by the critics fully, then certainly by the audience. Until this came out, and then I thought, well, I always said I wouldn't do one, but then this has come out, and I thought, well, the game's changed now. We've been going for so long that the tide has turned on. Maybe not fully Marvel films, but certainly comic book films to some extent. So I think this is underrated. let's get stuck into talking about it then. So just remember, guys at home, we talk about the likes, then we go into the dislikes, and then we'll cover that critical reception, and we'll conclude as to whether or not it is underrated like I've picked it. I know I haven't done the plot. That's because Jamie wouldn't ask me what the plot is because he said it's too woke. But it's a Marvel film, so the plot is, it's a comic book film. If you listen to this, you've probably seen it. So we'll talk about the likes first then. So first of all, Jamie, tell me about the likes, and I'm guessing you had seen this one before based on what you've already said.
Yeah, I went to cinema to see this, and I was really surprised at how much fun it is. That's the thing that you come away with this. It is a fun movie. And when you think that this is directed by Nia DaCosta, who her film before this was The Candyman,
which remake. Is the horror film with Tony Thingy in, isn't it?
Yeah, well, Tony Todd was the original, but
is he not in that one?
He gets a little cameo.
He's right.
But it's quite a deep movie. It's all about kind of generational racism and trauma. And this should have been a little palate cleanser for her, but I think it was kind of there was too much background kind of crap thrown at the making of this, where you've got people at Marvel being like, oh no, everyone hates us now, so we need to make sure this happens. But what's come out of it is actually quite a fun movie. I think the highlight for me is Kamala. That character works so well. And the idea of someone who is a fan of, it's hard to do this in a lot of movies, a fan of one of the movie characters.
Yeah, it's almost like the Last Action Hero type of thing, isn't it? She's
but done right.
yeah, but she does a really good, so Iman Vellani plays Kamala Khan in this, and I think I still haven't seen Miss Marvel. I never watched it. Whether I sort of gave up on, we're not here to talk about the wider Marvel universe, but I sort of gave up on some of the TV shows and just didn't watch them. And that's one of the ones that just didn't make the cut of me making the time to watch it. But I watched this and I was like, she's brilliant. Like she's a star. She's the emotional heart of this film. She ties everything up, like you say, by making her that young voice, that young perspective, but also the fan of the character. She's almost like the John Connor character in the way, in terms of her function in the film, or like you said, like Last Action Hero, whatever you want to call it, someone else who wasn't in a film with Arnold Schwarzenegger. That you say that perspective of the fan celebrating the main character, but also trying to be their equal and being accepted by them.
And also that character could so easily be annoying. Yeah. Without that performance, the way it's written, you could just, especially precocious child characters, you kind of, a lot of the time you just want them out the way but I think because she's got her own power base as well, it means that they're not just constantly saving her. And I think they explore the powers quite imaginatively. So because you've not seen the TV show, did you? Because I was wondering if any, because they just drop her and Monica Rambeau.
Yeah, so I had some WandaVision. Yeah,
all right, because they just drop these characters into this in a kind of unapologetic. These are these. If you haven't seen them,
yeah. And I think I'll come back to it's not executed with a home run, but I think they do as good a job as they get, particularly with Kamala Khan. I think they do a good job because they have that bit where she's doodling on a piece of paper and it sort of brings you up to speed with as much as you need to know for that character. And I did, like you said, they do unapologetically just go, oh, these are here now, deal with that. You might not have seen them before, do you know what I mean? And I think they stick the landing pretty well on that. I think they do okay.
They do quite well in just saying Monica's powers is kind of light spectrum. Yeah. Kamala's powers is hard light. And you go, okay, all right, she turns light into hard stuff. Good, fine. That's it, yeah.
Yeah.
They do a good job of it. Like Captain Marvel's powers has always kind of been, she fires like something at you, but I don't know what it is.
I mean, she's basically almost like Superman, isn't she?
Yeah.
I think they've made a good point there, is they do a good exploration of the power. Because if you've not seen it, they bring in the device where, because something happens to one of them, they get a power. They use made-up Marvel science to explain it. Basically, every time one of them uses their powers to a certain degree, should I say, they swap places. And I think I think they do some really good things with the script and the devices and the themes in this. That's probably the highlight for me, because you immediately solve your Superman problem, which is, if she's there, well, no one else is really needed. It's like the whole idea of they took her off for Infinity War and for most of Endgame, because if she's there, it just solves the problem. So by taking her off world and having her go in and solve problems elsewhere, she's not there to just essentially be the key to the lock type of thing. And I think they do that really well in this, which is, because she can't use her power, she essentially almost got like the brakes on all the way through. So so that device makes her more vulnerable.
Yeah, and it's they do quite a lot of fun things like that opening set piece. I saw they directed that with the idea was that you were just as confused as those characters in a good way. So
Yeah.
they're thrown into a situation they don't know why they're there or who they're fighting, and as a unit, it's not set up for in a lot of those set pieces, which makes it really fun. But and you still understand what's going on, and it's 3 different power bases as well. So it's like, oh well, one can have people go through them, one can do protective shields. So it's not just everyone is punchy, smashy, but
Yeah.
it's in different areas with CGI backgrounds. There's actually different things going on.
Yeah, and I think it's like you say, the different powers and the way the way it looks as well is really visually interesting. So it keeps you engaged because all 3 are different. That it keeps you watching it. And I do think it shouldn't go without saying, but I do think there are some really good visuals in this. It's a spacey Marvel film, so you get all the different planets, loads of interesting ideas around like the musical planet that they go to. I thought that was a really nice little touch. There is an element of, I think you can almost see the beats and see the points in the script of like they've obviously gone, right, we need to do something really innovative here to get people interested. So they've gone, well, there's this and there's this and there's this. And then they've almost written the script around that. But I don't think it takes away from, there is some really interesting ideas in there.
Yeah, I mean, they've kind of learned from Thanos off the back of, there's a big bad and we have to stop the doing this.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure, I don't think we'll cover the villain in the like section, but it's a very, very simple, bad person stealing stuff from planets. We need to stop bad person stealing stuff from planets plot. It's not very complex. And I didn't really buy into the Annihilator subplot.
No, it doesn't. Like you said, I'm sure we'll come back to that. It doesn't carry that much emotional weight, does it? Like the emotionality isn't really around Carol as a character. It is much more around Monica and Kamala, really. And I think so. Yes, and there's some interesting ideas in there. I think it's pretty funny. Like there's some pretty funny moments in there as well. Like I always laugh at the bit. Well, I say always. I've only watched it twice, but the bit where they swap powers and you think that Kamala's going to land and be hurt, and it swaps to Carol, and Nick Fury just goes, "Oh, it's Carol. It's cool." And it's just like it makes me laugh every time that, because it's like, is it that he just does not give a shit about her, or is it that he knows she's fine because she's so powerful?
Well, yeah, Samuel Jackson's having a lot of fun in this.
He's like he's almost like reached like, this is him doing Nick Fury, but it's the last day of school.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. He's brought his toys in, nothing electrical, nothing with small bits, but he's having a good time.
Yeah, I feel like he's done this long enough that like there's always something around the corner that's threatening the world.
Yeah,
but he knows he's got enough people to help cover him now, so it's fine.
I think the other thing as well we should probably touch on as well is, and like we've made jokes about it. Yeah, we'll talk. I'm sure we'll talk about the backlash towards this, right? And it is tied up in this, but I think it's really important to know that this is not only female led, but it is female-led with a really diverse cast as well, and I think that's really, really important.
Oh, so there are dislikes there,
Leave it, just leave it. Be naughty, Jamie.
No, I mean, it's, and also, yeah, it's 3 strong performances as well.
Yeah, 3 strong performances, 3 strong characters. They're all shown to be vulnerable and strong in their own ways and have their own strengths and weaknesses and that sort of stuff. But we've talked about this, we've touched on this before in terms of other films where, like, critics or audience, whatever, will tell people, you shouldn't like this because it's for teenage girls. It's rubbish. But it's like, but it's for them and it's okay to like that. And I think just touching on it here, it's not over, it doesn't overly hit you on the head with it, doesn't pat itself on the back, but I think it presents you with really strong female characters. Maybe not the villain in terms of the villain herself, but I think the performance is fine. But the 3 leads I think are really good. Like reading into it, like getting into it now, I think that seems to be what some certain sections of the internet had a problem with, as they did with the first Captain Marvel. Not sure really why that is. It's not even like it's the first female-led superhero film, because there are others, but I do wonder if there's a little bit of a backlash against this isn't the formula we've been fed before, or just, I don't know, little beta boys in their basements not liking strong women. I don't know what it is.
I think I think the problem they've got is that because it's not as famous a character, and in the comics, this is someone who is stronger than every other character you've got. But the fame doesn't match the power. So
Yeah.
they've been told all these superheroes who you love and you like, there's a person out there who's stronger than them, and it's a woman, and you've never heard of it before, and they've gone, well, you've just made that up. And you're like, no, because there's going to be a history of that.
Yeah.
And you can't say, oh, how is she like the strongest, blah blah blah. Like, you've got a bloke who turns into a giant green monster whose trousers stay on.
Yeah,
So
it's not you're not here for realism, mate, are you? I mean, I'm sure there are people who genuinely do dislike it, but I do get the impression it is these little sort of it's just these little keyboard warriors. I don't know, but it's so difficult because also I know what you mean about the idea of well, they've been built a universe around certain characters, but Black Widow's been it from the start, but also. They did build this multi-billion-dollar universe on their B-grade characters. Like, they only got Spider-Man back relatively recently, and they literally went, "Oh shit, who have we got? Right, we've got some World War II propaganda. We'll do what we can with him. We've got Iron Man, who sort of, is massive now, but really wasn't. We've got, like you say, people know the Hulk, but Thor." How many times people must have looked at that and gone, that'll never be a film. Like, it's just absolutely, it's too mad. And then they got into Guardians of the Galaxy, who were really not known and all that sort of stuff. So there is no real reason beyond, I think, people feeling a little bit threatened, people having delicate egos, whatever it was. But I do think it's really important that it's female led. I think it's really, it's female written, female directed. The first one is, I think, is directed by two people, and one of them is female and wrote it as well. But I quite enjoyed the little use of the little subtle indicators of the fact that they were women as well. Obviously, we can see the women. I don't mean that, but like things like when they're swapping their powers and they're doing skipping. I thought, how many girls would have watched that, having done that in the playground? I thought that's really cool. Do you know what I mean?
And that's what's great is if we're saying about the fear of being called woke, blah blah blah, is that it's unashamedly this is that's such a fun section.
Yeah.
And I kind of looked at that and went, oh, inside the MCU, we don't really get, Black Widow has to play with the boys. Like, they even written an awful line in Avengers 2 where she said, I'm always picking up your toys. And like, no, that's not what the function of the woman in the group should be.
No.
And actually, Black Widow never really got to have a group of, female people with it unless it was on a battlefield, whereas this is just a fun set piece of them learning how to cope with each other's powers.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's like it's proper like sisterhood almost, isn't it? And like the age difference as well is really, like, I think that really comes into it. The dynamics between the characters. So Kamala's a fan of Carol. Carol is related to Monica. Well, not related to, but she's like her aunt by friendship. But she really wants to almost mother her, and Monica's like, no, leave me alone, you disappeared, so I think there's some really interesting dynamics there, and the injection of femininity into it is subtle enough that it doesn't hit you over the head. But I thought there's definitely something there. Like, my partner went to watch it with me at the time, and I was asking her about that, and she was like, yeah, that was great, like, never thought you'd see that sort of stuff on screen, because we've seen the same superhero film with men made over and over and over again. Like, I remember hearing a story on one of Kevin Smith's podcasts about Batman, and it was just years and years ago, but he was talking about someone he knew went to watch Wonder Woman. And whatever you think of those DC films, I think Wonder Woman's almost objectively the strongest entry. And I think a lot of people do like that. I like it. And as the lights went down and the certification came up and all that, she just said to her partner, I waited my whole life for this. And it's like proper, like, oh my God, yeah, like, as a bloke, I'd never really thought about that. And then he said, the guy who was telling the story is Mark Bernardin, who's black, and he said at the time, this is how long ago it was, that is how I will feel when Black Panther comes out, because I've never felt that. When I watched Infinity War, I didn't watch Black Panther at the cinema. I think I was on holiday when it came out or something. I can't remember. I missed it. In Infinity War, when it cuts to Wakanda, I was actually sitting next to two young black lads. And as it said Wakanda and played the music, they turned to each other and did the Wakanda Forever sign. And I was like, fucking hell, like, it really hit me. Like, oh my God, like, this sort of representation is really important.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, it's
really important.
When you look at the kind of the behavior of people who aren't getting the movies they want, if you flip that over and the first Iron Man comes out and there'd be two black people in the screen going, well, I don't feel represented at all.
By Rhodey.
I can't enjoy this, It's bizarre to take a film that has 35 films in the franchise now,
something like that now, yeah,
and go, well, this one here
it's
is just people who aren't me, and it's like, well, you're not fucking Tony Stark either, mate. So calm down.
Yeah, what about you makes you think you're Captain America? Like, it's absolutely, yeah. Looking at it, then, yeah. I've jumped out of my helicopter without a parachute, definitely. Easy.
But I do feel like kind of as much as Marvel is in the the evil Disney machine, I do feel like the kind of the creative minds behind it won't go, we've learned our lesson and we're not going to have female led now. I feel like they'll still continue to thrive for stronger stories and diverse stories. There was some great stuff in Wakanda Forever, despite it overall having, it's hard to make a film when your lead actor has just died, to be fair.
Yeah, it's got a big hole, and that's the sort of problem, isn't it?
But they're still doing good stuff, which is, all this positive stuff we're saying is going to be hard when we get to the dislike. I'm like, God, this is why it's shit.
Well, let's move on to the dislikes then. So starting Jamie, after all that positivity, we've been very positive about the representation and the execution of the film. Too many women? Is it? Or is it?
Bloody woke, go woke, get broke. No.
Oh, mate. Oh, no. I just didn't see enough of myself in this.
Actually, do you know, thinking about it, what's great is that Marvel have shown that they can have an awful villain no matter if it's male or female.
It's all in the script. It's just poorly written, isn't it?
The power of Christopher Eccleston as the lowest point of villain is back, and it is in
Zawe Ashton.
Oh no, I mean the character.
Oh, sorry, Darben.
Darben. There we go.
Yeah.
I think, as you were saying, girls love being represented, and that Christmas last year must have been, I want my Darben action outfit and my toy to play with, and she's got a hammer and she says a famous phrase. Oh, I'm pretty angry about that.
I'm so annoyed about you destroying a big computer or something.
But in a way, it's kind of nice that they felt that they can keep up the tradition of weak villains.
Yeah, it's celebrating equality to give a female villain just as shit a dialogue as the male villain. It's just to touch on it, Zawe Ashton is not bad in this. She does a great job with what she's got. She's pretty intense. She's pretty engaging when you're watching her, but she's just not fleshed out as a character, is she?
No, but as I say, that's Marvel. The MCU
it's the same as Malekith, which is because that's Christopher Eccleston's character.
Yeah.
Mickey
Ronan the Accuser.
He's one, isn't he? It would be quicker to name the good villains, which is Thanos, Loki, and I quite like the Mandarin in Shang-Chi. Actually, I thought he was pretty good. Other than that. Who?
Oh, actually, Michael Keaton as the Vulture's great.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that one because it's sort of in the MCU, but sort of not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like,
but yeah, I think we're both kind of singing
Morbius.
From the same. We're both singing from the same hymn sheet that it's expected, and especially if it feels like they set out to make the shortest Marvel film because it is the shortest Marvel film.
Yeah, it's like, well, I think it's an hour and 45, but if you take credits in, it's like hour 30, really.
So, and also it's not one character based one. So they've chosen to flesh out the three protagonists at the cost of the antagonist. And at this point, you can almost hear them go, do you know what? We've made millions of shit villains anyway, so we'll just what does she want? Is she going for it? Yeah.
And I do feel sorry for Zawe Ashton to some degree because I think she's good with what she's got, and also it's the sort of thing of like, what is she saying in press interviews?
Yeah, and she's
like
not
12 hours in a hotel room, people being like, tell us about Darben. What is that? She's got a big hammer.
But she's not a kind of traditional Hollywood actress as well. I think she's British. She was great in she did the sitcom kind of post The In-Betweeners that was really fun about people going to uni.
Not Fresh Meat. Was it Fresh Meat?
Yeah, Fresh Meat, yeah. Yeah, I think, she does the job. And as you say, it's not a bad performance. It's just underwritten.
Yeah, it's just not. It's literally like they've put Marvel villain into a randomizer and just gone, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, my bigger problem with the film is, I think you said you liked it, but I think they absolutely waste the Singing Planet on this. I think they could have done more with that.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose, and I was talking about it, like it's an interesting idea, it's an interesting concept, but it is sort of just that, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
like that's what I mean when I said before. You can see the cogs, you can see the bricks in the house. It's like they've gone. Here's a few ideas, throw them together, and then let's see what happens.
and they got accused of doing this with Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, where like you had the potential for all these great ideas and you kind of wasted them. And I think, how funny would it have been if during a battle they still have to sing to communicate to like the ground teams? If they're like,
Yeah,
oh no,
yeah.
I've been stabbed in the face,
Yeah, no, it's a good. Like I'd never really thought of that, but they're on that planet for quite a while, but the actual singing bit's like 5 minutes, and it's literally just the introduction to the planet, isn't it? And then
Yeah.
like when the prince comes out, she goes, "He's bilingual," which is a funny little joke. But then as soon as he starts talking, that's it, no singing.
Yeah, done. And also we were kind of teased with, oh, this is going to have a huge dance sequence, and I remember when the Eternals came out, and they're like, we're going to have a Bollywood dance sequence, and like, oh no, you get kind of 20 seconds of the dance, and so if they keep saying, oh, we're going to do these things that are shifting from what we our normal kind of through line, and then you can kind of feel it all get dragged back to the Marvel machine of going, and we will do a bit of that.
I wonder if that's what it is. I wonder if it's a sort of victim of the Marvel machine in that somewhere there's a whiteboard with things we haven't done yet.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like things we haven't done yet. Musical stuff. Right, okay. Will you take that one?
Which is mad, like, because when you look at like Guardians 3, the thing we haven't done yet is, animal cruelty, and they take that to the extremes.
Oh God, I can't. I don't think I can bring myself to watch that again. To be honest, like I loved it, but oh my God, that hits hard. That film.
Well, I feel like that's because James Gunn has been there long enough that he can push back and go, no, we are doing this.
Well,
where maybe
to such a degree that in that one they didn't make a big thing of it, but they did the thing of going first F-bomb in a Marvel film. And he says it and just sort of go, all right, yeah, okay. Well,
yeah, right, well,
there's that then.
Whereas this has got the first singing planet in a Marvel
Eternals
film.
first sex scene. That was the big that was one with there was the Bollywood thing, like you say, for 10 seconds, and then it was first sex scene, and it's not even really a sex scene.
But yeah, they keep doing these things where it's like, we're coming out of our comfort zone, like, but you're not. Oh yeah, you're peering out of your comfort zone.
And I think that is what the fans latch onto. They feel it's box ticky. It's almost like I think they feel like Marvel just throwing in diversity and it's a token. And I don't think it is in this. Well, I don't think it is at all. You know what I mean? Because it comes back to the representation thing I talked about. So on the back of that, Black Panther showed Marvel, if you make a film for the right people, you're going to make £1 billion and it doesn't have to be an Avengers film.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And that's what Black Panther's like. Is it the most successful Marvel film about one character, or is that probably Spider-Man now? Isn't it the most recent one?
I think it's got the record for something. It might be like original character on screen, something like that. Yeah,
or first time a character was shown, or something like that. And then obviously Shang-Chi was probably the same when that came out as well. And obviously it didn't make loads of money because of COVID, but in terms of representation and how it makes people feel, it was definitely there. Having said that, the villain's not great. There are some real plot conveniences in this as well. I've never noticed the fact that at the end, Monica just finds Darben. She just goes, I found her, she's on this planet, and they just go there. And I was like, oh, right. So there's no, like, she just finds her.
Yeah, there's a few kind of like, I still don't know why these three specifically keep swapping powers. Maybe I missed it.
No, I don't. And that's the thing is, I don't mind that. They do a bit of Marvel quantum entanglement of the blah, and that's fine. But towards the end, with the rip in time and space, they do a lot of made up Marvel bullshit. Yeah. Like if the quantum spanner was with the blue-blooby-doo, then we can get the whatever. And you're like,
I've got to do it from the other side. How the fuck do you know that?
Yeah. Why? Because I've got to be in the post credits, haven't I? One thing I didn't mind. One thing I didn't mind about it is a lot of the Marvel films, not necessarily post Endgame, but just generally, have been accused and are, in my opinion, adverts for the next bit. And I don't think this is that. But on the other hand, it probably is a bit too reliant on the wider MCU stuff. So I was okay because I hadn't seen Miss Marvel, but I reckon if you hadn't seen WandaVision, you wouldn't really know the whole stuff. about who Monica was, but B, the emotional beat about the fact that her mum died during the blip is just completely lost.
Yeah, I know. It's weird because I think this is more fun than the first Captain Marvel film, but those relationships are really quite strong in that. Whereas in this, they kind of hand wave whenever Carol goes away. They kind of go, "Well, she had to go away for a bit." It's like, well, she does come back to Earth. Like, this is a very unnecessary bit of drama that they have between them.
Yeah.
It's like, you didn't come back while my mum was dying, and then she's like, "Actually, I did come back. You just went there." Blah blah. And it's like, so what was this? What is the friction between you two?
Why? Just like brothers and sisters. But you two just get on.
Yeah.
And also, I suppose as well, Valkyrie's in it for 2 minutes. That'd be complete. The fact that she takes the Krull or whatever, is it the Krull or the Skrulls, whatever it is, off to
full of Australian and Scottish.
Yeah, she takes them off to presumably Asgard.
Yeah, New Asgard, I think.
But that would be lost on you if you hadn't seen Endgame, which at this point I think everybody has. But even so, it is quite reliant on that wider Marvel universe, isn't it?
Mm. Yeah, you couldn't just pick this up and watch it on its own. But then it's the 33rd movie in a franchise.
It's past the James Bond films at this point, and they've been going for 60 years. Okay, let's move on to talking about the critical reception then. So just to remind you how it works, we've got the IMDb, the 2 Rotten Tomatoes, and we're going to average them out. And I picked this because I think it's underrated. I don't think it's underseen. It was a box office bomb if you compare it to sort of other Marvel films, but I think it's hard to know how it did on stream and things like that. So I think it's underrated. How do you think it did, Jamie? I mean, we know not well, but just how bad do you think it is?
I think maybe this is one of those where it gets review bombed by, the man babies out there. So yes. I think it'll take a hit on that. So I reckon it's probably in the 5s.
Okay. So at the time of recording over on IMDb, it gets 5.5 out of 10. Which isn't that bad. I think time has been a bit kinder and brought that back up. The audience on Rotten Tomatoes give it 82%. Which is pretty high. And then the critics give it 62%. So that averages out at 66% or 6.6. Now, I'm going to say, for me, this is a solid 7, maybe 7.5 out of 10 film. It's just good fun. And I think that is underrated. What do you think?
Yeah, I think this is fun. Like, I would watch this again you could just throw it on as one of the more, not in a bad way, the more throwaway of the Marvel
like
films.
Ant-Man or something like that.
Yeah, it's fun.
Well, there we go then. The Marvels is underrated, so I'm very happy with that. Give it a watch, make up your own mind. Jamie, your turn to pick next week, mate. What are we watching?
We're watching Sneakers.
Sneakers? That got superheroes in
it? Well, if you think Robert Redford in the 90s is a superhero, then yes.
He's always a superhero, isn't he, really?
Yeah.
He's
in the MCU.
He is. It's his last film. So technically, Robert Redford's last film. I mean, he's still alive, but he's retired.
Closing out on a cameo.
Is a cameo in Endgame.
To be fair, to end on the most successful film of all time so far, that's not bad, right?
No, it's not, to be fair. Anyway, join us next week. We're going to be talking about Sneakers. In the meantime, if you'd like to get in touch with us, it's filmsandthatpod@gmail.com. We're on all the social medias as well, so search for Just Films and That on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube, and you'll find us. We're always putting stuff out there, so do give us a follow. All that remains to be said is thank you very much for listening. It's goodbye from me. Cheerio.
Bye.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
1-800-Flowers.com is more than your birthday, anniversary, or just because gift-giving destination. We put our hearts into everything we do to help you celebrate all life's special occasions with friends and family. From our farmers and bakers, florists and makers, everything from 1-800-Flowers is made with love every step of the way, because we know that nothing is more important than delivering a smile. To learn more, visit 1-800-Flowers.com/ACAST. That's 1-800-Flowers.com/ACAST.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary, not available in all states or situations.